Why should they choose a startup over a bigger company?
The first and foremost, if not for anything, when I say learning, it's a speed of learning or velocity of learning. What you would take to learn 5 years in a traditional company, you might learn the same thing in about 6 months to 1 year, right?
So, very quickly of who we are as PWIP that you see, right? We do this Vasu every month, something called as Founders Fun Network. I know we have a lot to learn, and the quickest way to that, like they say, the quickest way to learn something is from somebody else's experience, right? You don't have to sometimes reinvent the wheel yourself, right? So this is Founders Fun Network that we do. We have been on our journey on trying to digitize the rice trade ecosystem, basically B2B. And thank you so much for taking this time out, joining us here. You have been a great friend and very supportive on this. So for all of us who is here, right? We all know, Vasu, co-founder of Ninjacart, has been very instrumental in the growth of Ninjacart, trying to digitize the fruits and vegetables value chain. It's about 7 years right now. I would want to not share much, but we would like to hear from Vasu himself. So it's been 7 years, Vasu. Tell me that Ninjacart that you started 7 years back versus today, what Ninjacart is.
Okay, great. Yeah, you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I think we have come a long way. I think, and we're very, very different from what we started off, or what we thought when we started. We would be actually. So just to give a quick history about our journey, I think we pivoted our business model from what we started actually. So when we started way back in 2015, and when we started, we were a B2C company. We were a hyper-local grocery delivery company, very similar to a Zepto or a Swiggy Instamart or a Flipkart Quick Action, right? We were buying from the Kirana stores and then delivering it to the end consumers. So we did that for about 6 months. But then soon realized the model is not viable. A, from a profitability standpoint, B, from a customer experience standpoint. Then we said, okay, this is not meaningful. I mean, we're not really creating value, right? We're burning a lot of money, we're giving discounts, etc. But there's no value creation. There's no path to profitability. And that's where we took a step back and said, okay, what else can we do? Can we do something more meaningful, more valuable? And that's when we stumbled upon this problem statement where a lot of these Kirana stores, the mom and pop stores that we see around, right? They have this hassle of sourcing vegetable foods on a daily basis. I mean, they have to wake up at 3 in the morning, go to the mandi, procure vegetable foods and come back. Then we said, why is it there are no Unilevers, P&G, Amuls of the world for fruits and vegetables?
Which probably starts at 4 a.m. or something.
Yeah. So they almost spend about, retailers spend about 4-5 hours just going to traveling to market, procure vegetable foods and come back, right? So then we said, why not build a Unilever or a P&G for fruits and vegetables? That's how we saw the opportunity, and then we pivoted to a B2B.
Right.
And this happened about 2016.
Right.
And over the last 7 years, we've been building on this idea, and then all that. Today we operate in close to about 50 odd cities.
Right.
Processing close to about 600 plus ton daily volumes that we do today. And the business evolved into, again, different verticals. There is fulfillment vertical, there is a platform vertical. So yeah, that's how we have sort of evolved. Today, I think, in the post-harvest space, I mean, if we look at the agri value chain, there are 4 buckets, right? There's a pre-harvest, which is farmer and before. There is a post-harvest, which is farmer to, post that. And then there's the processing and the retailing.
Right.
Today, in the post-harvest space, in fruits and vegetables, I think we could sort of proudly say we are pioneers in the space in terms of bringing in new ways of running the supply chain.
Right.
And we're already leaders in the country in terms of the volumes that we move on a daily basis.
Right. So that was about Ninjacart. So we also are very keen on understanding Vasu. Who is he and who was he 7 years back and who is he now? To share a little bit about Vasu personally, I always wonder, how are you able to carry that smile along, right? A lot of us in our daily life, be it in terms of work or be it in terms of personal life, right? A lot of energies drain us, right? So and I've also seen Vasu is keen on going to the gym. He takes health health is very important for him. I recently understood from him is he gets to sleep 7 to 8 hours. He makes it a point to sleep 7 to 8 hours, and you also love playing tennis, right? Uh, Going back to the first point, right? So how do you carry your smile? What's the reason behind it?
No, so I think there's nothing recent, right? I think for some folks it's just
Natural.
their ways of their personality and stuff like that. I don't think so. There's any conscious effort to really
Oh, is it okay?
keep the stress low and all.
But there could be a conscious effort to make you not smile. Probably. So this is going wrong here. This is going wrong. Operations, marketing, or whatever it is.
No, I think I have my own ups and downs and then bad days and good days. But I think the other co-founders, right, KK, Thiru, and all, they take the most stress.
Right.
I outsource stress to them, and I think all the best part actually. So, but yeah, I think it's more of that. But I think I think if I ever go a little deeper in terms of where it's coming from, I think that I think larger part of our work, I'm dependent on my teammates, right? I mean, my people and all that.
Right.
As much as how much of a stress I take, unless we have the right people and then they're not enabled, they have all the tools to execute, the work is not going to happen. So sometimes you focus on the input metrics,
Right.
and the output will sort of happen, if not today, tomorrow. So on a macro level, but yeah, there's no conscious effort to really
Right.
keep this measure.
Right. So for all of them who are entrepreneurs, right? So this aspect of giving also a good amount of priority to health in terms of number of hours sleeping or making workout a part of your lifestyle. How much would you stress on that, Vasu?
Yeah, I think where we are today, I would sort of emphasize health as the topmost thing, right? I think personally for me, for the Ninjacart team, I think we've gone through that journey. I don't think so. First 4 years, I think if the Ninjacart folks, they would sort of know that, right? We never cared about health for the first 4 5 years.
Okay.
We used to very bad eating habits, sleep cycles, no activity, physical activity, any of those, right? And I think all of us, I was almost 10 kg heavier, and then KK was almost 25 kg heavier than what he is today. Thiru was also heavier and all that, right? So I think about 2 years back is when I think we realized that because we weren't really focused on health, the kind of impact it has on the work itself, right?
Right.
What happens is when you're not sleeping properly, when your quality of decision making goes down,
Right.
when you're not focused enough, you get irritated all the time,
Right.
etc. When you're not physically fit, when you're not having the right kind of nutrition, then your energy levels go down.
Right.
That again impacts on your work.
Right.
So I think now we sort of realize that actually if we can get your health in place, you can be almost 3-4 times more productive at work.
Right.
In terms of energy levels, in terms of your focus, your decision. So all of those things.
Right.
So now I would say health is our topmost priority.
Right.
It's I mean I don't think so. Today we don't really compromise that, right?
Right.
We see it as a very integral part of our startup success.
Right. So going back to Ninjacart, so like how Mark Zuckerberg said, right, that I heard him saying that ideas don't actually come on day one. They only get clearer as you keep working on it, right? So you just shared us just on how Ninjacart is trying to solve things. So the Ninjacart that was 7 years back versus today, a lot of things that you're trying to do. So how is it totally different today, or is it different, or any new initiatives, or what's changed your thought process the day you started till towards today? So how is it like?
So I think before we started Ninjacart, I used to read and go to a lot of these events. I remember someone telling me that every startup goes through at least 3 pivots, right? 3 changes in ideas before they really find a right product market fit or they get it. I always felt like that's maybe wrong. But actually after starting Ninjacart, someone say, I think that's true, right? Because typically when you start your startup or your idea, typically within a year or two you change your idea, right? Because you learn more about the market, you learn more about the customers, etc. But then it keeps evolving over a period of time. And I think which is probably perfect. The focus is not to be the first one to be in the market, saying that it should never be about, okay, I'm the first one to come up with the idea, or we are the ones to start, right? It's always be the first one to get it right. Right? That's more important. Getting it right is more important. Right. And getting it right always will come from iterations, right? And getting it also right comes from a lot of insights about the business, insights about the customers, about your execution, your capability, etc. So, and that will only come with experience. When you iterate faster, when you ship products faster, etc., you will be able to get that faster. So it's always like that. Like, when you start up something, keep your mind open, keep learning. Based on the learning, iterate, and then keep changing your models till you get the right product market fit and profitability.
That's very interesting, because I remember my experience in 2016 when we started buying rice from millers and exporting to Singapore, Malaysia. And then I used to call millers, we used to call traders, importers. We felt that, there is, first we wanted to do just buy and sell rice. And then we realized that so much that we can do in a particular category. And today we just don't do what we were doing in 2016. So how businesses evolves is very interesting. Your initiative on, say, be it Ninja Global, or the kind of things I think that you're doing is very, very interesting, Vasu. So coming back to entrepreneurs, right? So a lot of team members invest their sweat into the company, right? And have seen it. I see it on a daily basis, right? So, and I've been asking you this question: 7 years. And you might still have your co-founding team and the team members who were initially joined, right? I was wondering what keeps them going even after 7 years. Sometimes I feel people need something to continuously keep their mind stimulated. If they're getting enough challenges to solve, they're going to be there at it, right? So what's your take on 7 years and still being passionate about doing something?
So I think first and foremost, the culture, right? I can say that it's a great work, and then products, etc. But all startups provide great work in that sense, right? But as a company, you develop a certain culture, and there are folks who find the culture is something that they want to be part of it. I think this culture is the right culture for them to create or do great things or build great things. That I think is very, very essential. I would sort of say that is a foundation, right? Once the foundation is in place, then of course comes the right quality of work. Am I getting a challenging work? Am I sort of growing in the company, etc. So, for example, at Ninjacart, we have a lot of examples where people who just came out of engineering colleges but now grown into director, senior director roles. In the last 5 years, they've grown. The compensation have grown significantly. They have a significant ESOPs in the company. So, one, of course, there is a compensation, wealth creation side of things. But all of this happens on the back of their own performance. They continue to sort of, do great things, and they continue to get growing actually. And as when they got a new opportunity, they kept growing themselves. So one, to summarize, I think great culture, or getting the right culture, right? To having a right work in place and challenging work, so where they continue to learn actually. Some of these great people quit when they think that they're stagnating, right? They're not growing, etc. So that's important to keep that.
Right. So do you have good chunk of core team member existing still today, being passionate, leading teams? That what you see, right?
Yeah. So there's a significant part of, I think I would call Ninjacart as like a 50% of the teams of the old folks who have joined. So in Ninjacart, either you will see people who have been there for 4-5 years, or they've been there for like 2 years, or like 1 year, right? Because a significant part of our talent came in the last 1.5 years. Right. But majority of them also came in the last 4 years, 5 years. They've been like with us for a long time.
Right. So for all those entrepreneurs who are working, so for them, why should they choose a startup over a bigger company, or what's in store for them actually? Next, say today they join a startup, and the first time they are joining a startup. So how could their life change for the next, say, 2-3 years if the startup is doing good? So what is in store for them?
So I think it's a very good question, because it's very important for folks to understand that this, right? Because I've seen a lot of folks outside, they sort of say, school to work in a startup and all that, but once they join a startup, they realize that, hey, it's not for me. Yeah. Right? They end up quitting and then going back to their the regular company. The first and foremost, if not for anything, is the learning actually, right? Yeah. When I say learning, it's a speed of learning or velocity of learning. What you would take to learn maybe in about 5 years in a traditional company you might learn the same thing in about 6 months to 1 year, right?
Right.
That's what I think is crucial, right? When you join a startup, what it does is it sort of makes you it sort of grows your skills that much faster,
Right.
and increase your capability that much faster, right? So which means that your compensation also will grow that much faster.
Right.
Which means that, for example, when you work in a traditional company, it takes 5 years to get to X salary. In a startup, because you're growing faster, you're learning faster, your capability is growing faster, your compensation also will grow that much faster, right?
Right.
So I think that's the number one thing, right? If not for anything.
Right.
Second, especially for folks who want to start up someday, I'm sure a lot of folks want to start someday. I think I would say, in a way we are, India is today, I think everyone should, a lot of folks should start up, right? I think next 20 years is a great place to be in India, 20, 30 years.
Yes.
So the party is going to be in India, right? From a global standpoint. So it's a fantastic time to be an entrepreneur, especially in India. So in that sense, I think working in startups, I think that's where you learn in the ring side of, what's happening in a startup, how decisions are taken, how do they handle crisis, how do they handle people, hiring of people, the multiple things you can learn from a close quarters, right? And you can walk up to a founder and then just sit down and chat, all that. I think these are two things that's the topmost benefits, I think I would say, with startups. I would recommend, I think, first 5 years in your career, just work in startups. Then you could sort of figure out what works for you.
Right. So if you were to hire, would you hire somebody with a lot of experience or somebody who is very passionate, curious, or you would hire both?
I would hire both.
Okay.
I know that's the most safest answer, but I'll tell you where I would hire whom, right?
Okay.
In the first 3-4 years of Ninjacart, we hired the second set of folks who were highly passionate, no experience, just out of college.
Okay.
Who had high enthusiasm, who would not ask too many questions and just didn't go on to execute, right?
Yes.
And that was needed, and we still continue to hire a bunch of folks like that.
Right.
Today, we hire experienced folks for a very specific functional needs. For example, we have a fintech arm, a lending arm, where we need to hire people from lending background, who understand risk better, who understand the lending process better.
Hello.
Compliance, for example, we need to hire people with experience.
Right.
Finance, for example, we need to hire people with experience today because we are at a lot, right?
Good.
Again, HR, for example, we are hiring people with experience because they come with the learning which we can learn faster.
Right.
So you need to be very clear where you want to hire for who. If you're hiring for a knowledge, if you're hiring for a, certain process, you hire from experience.
Right.
But if you're hiring for an execution capability, you're hiring for a speed, you're hiring for enthusiasm, then you hire from people who are from that field actually.
Correct. Right. So I think a lot of founders are asked this question, either sportingly or sarcastically. I'll ask you this as well. So what do you do at Ninjacart? Vasu.
So is it as a business or what we do on the night?
At Ninjacart, yeah, as business.
Cool. So let me put this way, right? So whenever you guys go to a retail store, Kirana stores, and you buy a tomato, right? Ever wondered how does a tomato reach that Kirana store? 5 years back, before Ninjacart existed, so what happens is a farmer would produce a tomato, will harvest the produce,
Right.
he will bring it to a mandi in Bangalore, which is the Kalasipalayam market or Yeshwanthpur market, right? He will sell it off to a commission agent there.
Yes.
Retailers from HSR, will travel to all the way to Yeshwanthpur, buy this tomato, and come back and keep it in the store, right? Now, what we have done is, we have went and told the retailer, hey, you know what, you don't have to travel. I will procure from the farmer directly, the tomato,
Right.
and come and deliver to your store directly,
Right.
right? So that's what we have solved for.
Right.
And just to put that in context, earlier, between a farmer and retailer, there will be about 4 people, 4 layers, right?
Right.
There is transporter, source trader, destination trader,
Right.
wholesale, etc. Now we have cut down all the 4 and made as one layer.
Right.
And we have brought a lot of changes, right? For example, on the farmer side, the farmer will know the price and the quantity before the harvest starts.
Right.
Earlier, it used to be a gamble for the farmer. He used to harvest the produce, bring it to the market, then he will know what's the price.
Yes.
Now we have completely changed that. We have democratized the entire selling of produce for the farmers.
Right.
On the farmer side, retailer side, it's a complete convenience, right?
Right.
He doesn't have to step out of the store. It comes to the store, great quality, great price.
Right.
That's what the world has changed with Ninjacart coming in.
Right.
So you can think of us like an Unilever. What Unilever is for a shampoo or a Nestle is for a Maggi or Amul is for a butter. We are for a tomato and a onion actually.
Right. A strong distribution network.
Yeah.
Yeah. I once remember I was at a tech sparks by your story, and Qualcomm Ventures were mentioning this. The team of founders at Ninjacart, they are hustlers. If any challenges come, they just figure it out. They know how to. They're hustlers and they'll solve it. So what's it about your co-founding team? All 7 of you. What's your energy like? How do you actually come about picking a problem to solving and then executing it? So what happens behind the doors? If you can share something with us.
So so I think the business that we are in, right? It's a hardcore operations business. We sort of realize that we can't build this business by sitting at 9th floor, learning, right? We need to get out on the field, get out to the market, travel to the fields to really understand what's happening there.
Right.
See, this is not like a software business, SaaS business, or a B2C business where you could, acquire customers through social media or service them, and then you can communicate them through a ATL, BTL campaign.
Right.
Here, everything happens on the ground, right?
Right.
So which means that what we very soon realize that if we have to succeed in this business, we need to get our hands dirty in this business, right?
Right.
Which means we have to roll up our sleeves. At a founder level, we have to get to the business.
Right.
1, 2. This is not a business that we all come. Our backgrounds are not from the farming or from the agri, etc. Right? Which means that unless we hit the market, we will not be able to learn or break a lot of assumptions in the market. Otherwise, what happens is if you just rely on third-party insight, they will give you a lot of reasons to say why it's not work.
Right.
Only when you hit the ground and sort of notes by yourself, then you get questions saying that, okay, why it can work, and push back, right? So I think largely it comes from, I think through KK, I think we also have the very, hustler mindset, etc. Right? We sort of...
Somebody mentioned that you guys used to go 4 a.m. to Kalasipalyam market and just observe onion getting auctioned. So is that true? How much of it was early? And once Thiru mentioned that at the farm side, your truck you stopped because you're disrupting also a lot of other businesses, middlemen, traders, etc. So what's the journey there?
No, yeah, so I think we have done that. I think I'm sure every founder would do it. I don't think so. It's only a Ninjacart's glory that way. But I think all great founders sort of hustle and then they stay very close to their customers. They stay very close to their users that way, right? We have done that. I mean, in the initial years, we used to sort of travel, pretty much sleep out of the markets, stay out of markets. I think all the founders, Sharath, KK, Thiru, all the core team, not just the founders, but all the core teams have traveled extensively. We've stayed out of markets, stayed out of the villages. We've done that. I think we feel that's very essential in this business. And we still continue to do that. I mean, we continue to travel extensively, talk to our customers also. And I think that's true for all the founders. I mean, you want to build a great business where you want to build with insights you want, right? See, what happens is, I think other videos listen to Kunal Shah, great startups are built on insights, right? If you don't build on insights, you end up burning a lot of energy. I mean, when it's energy, it could be your cash, it could be your manpower energy, your time, etc., right? The closer you are to the truth, the faster you could sort of solve or get a product market fit, and then the faster you could grow. The idea is like how can we get closer to the truth as much as possible? And that's the whole objective.
Right. So on the investment side, like now we've seen that a lot of the investor space has become more of building sustainable startups, profitable companies. So has that changed for agritech and agri companies as well? The investors in this space see that way as well?
Yeah, I think in general, I think that's a sentiment across all the startups,
right?
Especially for B2B, all the more focus on profitability,
right?
Etc. And agri also no exception to that, right? And agri, I think I would say it's all the more important because you're dealing with a stakeholder like farmer, traders, retailers, who are generally not very loyal to the thing. There's no brand per se because it's all commodity products. Onions, tomatoes are not branded products.
Yes.
So whenever it's a commodity product, the loyalty among the users is very, very less. I mean, they'll always go back when a price changes or when a service changes.
Correct.
So I think more than the investor pressure, the way I would say is, I think it's very, very important to get to profitability to prove the business model. To say that we have got to a product market fit, the profitability is very, very important, right? Today, in fact, at Ninjacart, there's significant process on profitability, not just because the investor is asking for it, but we feel that's the right thing to do. That's a way to sort of prove that there's a product market fit, and that's the only way to say that the business is sustainable. So I think that's very, very important today.
Right. So you have a little bit answered this question. So 7 years later, today, if you are supposed to build Ninjacart, so would that be very different from the time that you started?
So I think it's whatever learning that we have today and the experience, I think we'll build it, of course, very differently.
Correct.
I think the first thing is we will take care of health first
Yes.
before we do anything, right? So, but having said that, I think two things, right? Internally, how would we build it? Externally, how would we sort of approach it?
Right.
Of course, we would sort of pick up business models which have very less operations,
Right.
but very, very high on
Scale.
enabling through technology and data.
Right.
Very high on scaling profitability, right?
Right.
That's how we sort of would look at it. Rather than being someone who would replace the ecosystem, but can we enable the ecosystem?
Right.
Right? That's one thesis that we would sort of maybe go deeper.
Right.
The second one is internally how we build the company, right? Maybe we will over invest or hire our support functions much faster. Let's say HR, finance, legal, some of these functions. I think it's very important to get the right people much early on, so that your house is in order, right? Otherwise you're not spending too much time later fixing all of these things.
Right.
So that's one.
Right.
And of course, and whatever our learning in terms of hiring leaders, hiring, letting go of people, all of that, I think we would sort of implement in a much better way.
Right. And what's your management style at Ninjacart? I heard somebody approaching you at the lift right now. Bro, what's about this and things like that. So do a lot of people call you bro, or what's your management style like?
So I think Ninjacart has this bro culture.
Are you the people officer?
No.
Okay.
So we have Anuja, who's our head of people operations.
Okay.
So generally, I think, I think this is coming from our first few years of Ninjacart, right? Where I think, like I said, we hired a lot of this bunch of folks from colleges. We used to pretty much operate like a college tech first, right? Like, I mean, very close bros and all that, right? And that's what stayed. The bro culture stayed. And generally, we are very approachable. I mean, not that, but generally, we are very open. Very open culture. Like, people are very, approachable in that sense.
Right.
That's about the Ninjacart culture. So coming to my management style, I think I'm very hands-off as a person, right? You get the right people and then you give them the right tools, remove the blockers and let them operate and figure it out. That's what I think has worked for me, and then that's what I sort of operate with. That's it.
Right. So coming to COVID and pre-COVID and post-COVID, has anything changed really for you as a business or the agri space in general?
I agree. I think a lot of, not just Ninjacart, but I think across the board, I think business have got a little rationalized. I think over profitability sort of took a front seat.
Right.
Hence, both at Ninjacart as well as outside, I think we sort of prioritized few things over this thing. Now, I think we have gone, I think from the COVID time, I think I would say it has sort of benefited us in a many ways. One, I think we've got behind the right metrics, got to, getting the business in the right order today.
Right.
We rationalized a lot of our additions and cost structures, etc. One.
Well.
But in some of the areas, our volumes have grown. Right. We have hit our all-time peak post the COVID hitters, etc.
Right.
So in that sense, I think I would sort of say it happened. A lot of positive side impact for us, though we had few negative impacts. But there's been a lot more positive impact.
Right. In terms of crisis management, if there's a crisis, if somebody has done a mistake or in the founding team or the market, the way it changes and things like that, whenever there's a problem, how do you actually go about solving it? To be more specific, I also want to ask you this way. Say a single founder company, say Paytm or something, versus say Ninjacart, which is having a co-founding team, right? So would you always suggest to have a co-founding team versus being a single founder? Is that as an advantage?
So my personal take on this, I think go for a co-founding team. Okay. At least two to three is a good size. At least when you're starting with the first time action.
Right.
When you're a second time founder, third time founder, you could sort of do it once.
Right.
See, because what happens is when you're a founder, right, it's a very lonely job. If you're a single founder, it's a very lonely job because you take decisions. Sometimes you want to, first time founders, you want to you have someone to come along with you to, bounce off ideas.
Right.
or when you're handling a crisis, when you're going through tough times, you want someone to be along with you, right? So my advice is first time go with co-founding team. Second and third, of course, you'll know the playbook. You know what to do, what not to do. They can you do it alone, right? And especially when you look for the co-founder, I would say three things.
No.
One, high on intellect.
Oh.
High on enthusiasm, energy.
Oh.
And third, integrity.
Right.
I think if you can, these three things is the right co-founder.
Right.
And I always say this to people, the best way to find the right co-founder is to become one, right? I mean, when you become a right co-founder, then someone will always come and find you.
Well,
So yeah, that's the way to go for it.
so then, how lonely is it? How lonely is it at the top? You're also on the 9th floor here on the top. So at the hierarchy level also you're there on the top. So how lonely is it, or how excited is it?
No, I think being a startup founder, you're driving in the dark, right? I mean,
Yes.
you have to take decisions, you have to raise money. A lot of your decisions are very gut call driven, and there are a lot of people issues, right? I mean, 80% of the time you're managing people or you're
Yes. Yes.
etc., right? So when you're alone, then whom do you really share this with, etc. And especially in the early days, you want someone with a strong amount of ownership to really share this with.
Yes.
And also help with, right? Not just sharing.
Yes.
There are 10 things to do. I mean, there are 100 things to do, right, as a founder. But you can't be doing all the 100 things. You can't prioritize all the 100 things.
Right.
But if you have a co-founder team, you can sort of divide and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to focus on 20, you focus on another 20. So one, it sort of helps that way.
Do you have to share it with co-founding team itself, or you could also share it with your team?
Yeah, of course, eventually you will do that. I mean, today, if you look at, I think me, KK, the co-founder, I think we don't do everything in the company, right? We would not, I don't think so we're doing even 2-3% or 5% of what, in terms of work. Well, I would say less than 1%, right? There are teams in place who do it mostly, right?
Right.
Our job is to mostly to come in and remove blockers and see where all we can improve things.
Right.
And more of build for future, like getting right people,
Right.
plan for future, fundraise, etc. Right. So eventually that happens.
No.
Right? But in the early days, in the first 3-4 years, you want to be hands-on, and then you're building everything on yourself because you don't have a lot of money to hire great people.
Right.
Right? I mean, you can only, like I said, you hire people with high enthusiasm but no experience.
Right.
But you have to guide them, you have to tell them what to do, and then you have to sort of save them, etc.
Right.
It helps that way.
So,
And especially, just to add to that, especially with, I mean, today I don't see any startup is there without a tech capability, right? I mean, it's always great to have one co-founder focusing on tech products so that there's a clear focus on there. The other co-founder focusing on sales, building the business, front-ending it, etc.
correct. So again, talking about entrepreneurs, right? So you have had in the initial days a good amount of roller coaster ride, right? You started with the B2B grocery, then to pivoting into fruits and vegetables supply chain. So sometimes it so happens that you have a lot of plans, you are trying to execute, but you know that you are also pivoting at the same time. So the growth will take some time, but you also know that the team needs to be motivated and kept motivated. So as a whole, you might be making snail pace growth, but you have to want to deliver. So have you done and taken decisions like that where the company was kind of still figuring out, but still you had to scale up your team members in terms of remuneration, in terms of motivation, in terms of plans? How was
I think we have gone through that more than once, right? It was almost fixing it in the mid-air,
right.
etc. So I think I think we had multiple such cycles, etc. But I think what helps is, one, being transparent with the employees, your team, and tell them, hey, this is what you're going through, and this is what as an org we need to sort of go through to really come out more stronger and survive and etc. Right? And because we had a very strong team where the communication was very stronger,
Right.
and I think the first 4-5 years, I think we had a team which was very, very aligned toward the organization, right?
Right.
And especially when you have a team who puts the org above their own personal goals, it's much more easy to handle them or tell them this.
Right.
So you always do that.
Right.
And there are years where you're not able to compensate, but next year you come back and overcompensate because we all went through the journey and then we crossed that, etc. So that there's always a bullet point. But if you have the right teams, then it's not really a big problem, right? These are temporary problems. It's not a permanent problem.
Right. At some point, you were mentioning about how B2B founders versus B2C founders operate, think. You have had some learnings and experience. So what do you think? Do B2B founders they have to think differently compared to a B2B?
No, I don't think the founders wise there is difference.
Okay.
But I think of course, the B2Cs are a little high on the consumer marketing and things like that. But I think business itself is very different, right? Because the business is very different. The philosophies are very different for a B2B and B2C, in my view, which means that a person with the right philosophies will fit into each of these very aptly, right? For example, in B2B, one is you can't burn money unlike like a B2C and grow your audience, grow your brand, etc. Right?
Yes.
One is your customers are very finite. I mean, you don't have $1 billion customers like a B2C, right? You have only like, let's say maybe a 1,000 enterprise or a 10,000 enterprise at the max, companies which are buying your products, etc. Right? So then when you have finite customer base, then you have to be very high on relationship, high on delivery, high on experience. If you're really just throwing money and acquiring, then they're going to really go off for sure, right? That's one. Second, they're very less forgiving in B2B. The enterprise don't want to waste time, right? I mean, once they've had a bad experience, they want to go back to companies which are giving great experience. So they're not wasting time. They get what they want, etc. So someone who understands this philosophy difference between a B2C and B2B, are the right ones, I would sort of say, right? I don't say very founder different, but these businesses need a very different philosophies to operate.
So my next question is about your bootstrapping days. I want to share an example of myself. Back in 2017, 18, I faced a situation where because you're constantly worrying also about business, getting funding, as you said, a lot of things going around, and we were just 2 to 3 people in the office. So it had gone to a stage that you're constantly worrying about whether this will happen, whether that will happen, and things like that. Now, one day when I was driving to work, I was naturally in a happy mood. And I was asking myself, why am I happy today? Am I supposed to be not worrying, right? So we are trying to digitize the rice trade ecosystem, a lot of work to be done. We have just started off. But there are some worries I don't have at the moment. So I sometimes miss those days. When things change and you can't go back to those days. Yeah. So you have something like that from your bootstrap days that you miss today, which you love doing, enjoy doing.
Yeah. I think in the bootstrap days, I think you don't have much to lose, right? So I think naturally we were more happier, and then we were like...
You're happier? Okay.
I mean, you're higher enthusiasm. You said, okay, we'll do everything, anything possible. Because nothing much to lose,
Yeah.
It's not happening, then it's okay, we'll go back to some other idea or a job or etc.
Right.
But I think the real responsibility and the so the heaviness comes after you raise the first round of money. Then you're a lot more responsible. You have to sort of answer. I mean, not just answer investor, but you have to be responsible against the money that you collect.
Yes.
And now you have to ensure that things are in the right place, right?
Yes.
That's one. But of course, I think we had our fair share of anxieties and bad days when you're bootstrapped in terms of will we raise money or not. Because we had hired employees and we had to pay salary. Right. I remember we were borrowing money from folks, our friends, for paying salaries.
Right.
I think Arish was part of our team now. We used to borrow from him, make salaries, right?
Okay.
He's a biggest friend.
Okay.
We used to borrow from our mentors. Okay. So those things we have gone through, etc. But I think we were super confident back then,
right,
because of the high energy and all that. But yeah, there are good and bad days.
Thank you so much for sharing that so candidly, that you borrowed money and all. So I think that's the learning and key for us, that, oh shit, they have also done this like that, right? So we don't feel ourselves small or guilty. So my follow-on question on this. So you have investors, then you have to be, you have to give them value back and things like that, right? So few people also tell, if you get an investor on board, it's like you are having a boss and not being an entrepreneur. So how much is that true or false? Having investors is like having a boss. So you have investors on board, right? So some people say that having an investor is almost equal to having a boss. Yeah, and you lose your the first thing that you wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I got it. So I think luckily, very, very fortunately for Ninjacart, I think that didn't happen, right? I think we have I would say the best investors that we have on our cap table today. We have Axel, who's known for being an enabler, and then they're more of a coach, or I wouldn't even call a coach. They're more of someone who just stands on the side and then sort of gives you all the help that they want, right?
Right.
Tire Global, Flipkart, Walmart. Right. I think all of these guys are more of an enabler. They always questions about how can I help you, how can we be of help, how can we help you succeed, more of that. Of course, I mean, if it brings an accountability, there is a sense of accountability, there is a sense of we deliver on some of the numbers. But it was, none of these investors come out to say, questions on our strategy or sort of put a blocker on what we want to do, etc. I think luckily we were very, very fortunate in that sense to have great investors on our cap table. So far. Yeah.
Oh, great. In this context, also is that in the agritech space in particular, right? That's since you have seen now so much, some people are into say farm productivity, IoTs at the farm. Some are solving for distributions. Some are solving for market linkages. A lot of things happening in the agritech space. So, from your point of view, that you see it from the view, from the place that you see, what do you see is happening? What all is happening at the agritech space? What you have come across, which is interesting, or something like that?
So, I think from my learning, I think like I said, I think there's a post-harvest and the pre-harvest pace, right? There's a bunch of startups who are solving for the pre-harvest, which is farmer production input side of thing. There is a bunch of startups who are solving the post-harvest, like Ninjacart, Makecool, and the few other Byjack, etc. So these are two broad buckets. Again, within these buckets, there are multiple lines of business, right? There are companies which are solving for commerce across these two legs. There are companies which are solving for services. It could be a equipment service. It could be a any other service. That's the second layer. The third layer is the working capital layer, which is purely solving for working capitals across these. Right? I think I broadly see these are three horizontals and two verticals in the agritech space. Currently startups are playing out. Larger part of I think we will see larger part of the focus will be either on the commerce side, where we're solving for information asymmetry across this ecosystem, or you will see a lot of focus on the working capital, solving the working capital, because end of the day, it's a commodity business. You need a working capital to sort of really grow the business, right? So yeah, that's a larger trend that I see today in the agritech space.
At some point, do you think agritech companies are also playing B2B commerce company as well? I mean,
yeah. For example, ours is more of a B2B commerce. There are a bunch of companies in, for example, you take Vecool, or you take Dihad, or you take Byjack. So they're all doing B2B commerce, right? For example, you guys PWIP also doing a B2B commerce space, etc. There are working capital companies, for example, Samanati. There are a bunch of other startups who are purely focusing on working capital solutions. There are companies which are purely focused on services. So Cop or Vasudevaguru, or the bunch of companies which are Philo. They are focusing on services or tools to bring in efficiency, etc.
What do you see the trend going? Where do you see the trend going? What could be the next? In the next 1 year would be an interesting
in the
agri and food B2B commerce space.
So I don't think so any of this will really take a big leap. But I think the commerce to be a lot more will have high velocity of growth among all the other categories in the agritech space. Followed by the working capital solutions action. Yeah. These are two areas which will grow much faster than other categories in the startup space.
Like how we have seen companies like IndiaMart, Trade India, Alibaba, these kind of companies who are purely based on website, directory-based model. So, do you see a very big shift in way companies could be listed on platforms, or how the way business is being done? Like few of our experience is also that a lot of people want us to solve end-to-end problems, right? So right from the order to fulfillment and everything in between, right? But some give you a platform just to list. You list, if you get an inquiry, you take the trade.
Yeah.
So which is going to succeed, or which you think, or both will go in parallel? What do you feel on that?
See, my personal take is I don't think so. Just a directory service will succeed, right? Or discovery service will succeed.
Okay.
I think you take any agri-commerce today. It runs on 4 pillars, right? There is a search and discovery where you search for buyer and seller, which is what platforms like IndiaMart or Alibaba solve for. And there is a quality aspect to it, right? How's the quality? Who will ensure the quality is right, etc. Third is the payment assurance. I mean, when you're selling to someone, will the payment money come in or not? Fourth is the fulfillment itself, which is the logistics. ensuring reaches on time, etc. Right?
Right.
These are the 4 pillars on which agri-commerce is built on. If you just solve only one, the commerce will not happen actually. You have to solve for all the 4.
Right.
One day it will happen.
Right.
Now, it depends what is more critical to solve for.
Right.
What is the order of priority in this?
Right.
So that's what depends where you want to play, etc. For example, at Ninjacart, while we want to solve for all the 4, but each are a different intensity action.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, sometimes do you see individually as a founder or as a company, should we be jack of all trades, or in a particular problem, for example, for example, rice itself, there is a lot to do around it. So, a lot of investors also say, are you a horizontal platform, right, or you are going deeper into one particular category, right? So, for you, for example, you have been very invested in the F&B as a segment, right?
Yeah.
So, horizontal versus vertical, what do you?
So for all the startups, right? I mean, not just for agri. I think there's a model called T model,
Right.
where you go depth in one,
Right.
but you keep doing few things horizontally, like a T, right?
Right.
I think that's the right model today till you really get to a certain scale.
Right.
Like you say, in your case, rice stuff is like a crazy market, $40 billion market in India, and so much to do there,
Right.
so much innovation to do.
Right.
And especially in agri, it pays to have a category understanding.
Right.
So I would say sort of build a depth in 1 or 2 categories first. Then once you really crack the model, get to $1 billion revenues, then you go after horizontal.
Right. Right. So I have seen it in one of the ads. They say, in business, you don't have enemies, you have opponents, right? So like today's day, you have, as you said, Ninjacart, you have Waycool, you have a lot of companies that have come up. We coexist here. We talk about our plans. You talk about your plans. I mean, at some point, we have, I think, healthy relationships and friendships that we have. So how do you see competition? So do you just, like they say, don't focus much on competition, be better version of yourself. So that is what your mantra is, or how do you see competition?
No, I think our focus has been about the second one, where, well, of course, I mean, I wouldn't say that, we don't really worry about competition. We just, once in a while do a dipstick and understand what they're doing, and then just to understand the lay of the land, right? Because I think today the market is such an early stage, everyone is innovating and figuring it out.
Right.
But larger part of focus is very inward looking, right? For example, we focus on, do we have right talent in place? Do we have the best talent in the industry? Which we are, right? I mean, we look at, among the agri companies, Ninjacart is the best place to work, in terms of the kind of talent and the kind of, colleagues to work with, right?
Right.
Second is to focus on capital, having the right capital so that you're able to stay in the game for longer.
Right.
Third is to build the right culture so that the right talent is able to come and work.
Right.
Fourth is to sort of build a strong customer trust, right? Be able to deliver to the right customers and deliver right value so that we're able to get a great retention. So we know that if we focus on this 4, then rest all things we don't really worry about it, right? So I think major focus on looking at Ninjacart and saying, okay, how do we really march forward?
Right.
We already had a leadership position. We already pioneering in a lot of ways. Now, how do we really continue to invest, double down on that, and that's the way ahead?
Right. So we are almost coming towards the end of this program, but I have a few more questions for you, before which I will open to the audience if they want to ask any questions that they might have. I think we have a mic out there. Yeah. If you can help, if anybody is having a question for Vasu.
So myself, Mahalakshmi, I'm working at PWIP as an assistant manager for export sales. And the question which I have for you is what is your favorite part being an entrepreneur?
I think it's about building something, right? Be the organization itself able to sort of hire people, and you know that you're really helping them grow in the career. I think at a synthesis level, I think able to build an institution which is creating value at the core of it. And there are a lot of other favorite things about hiring people, helping them grow, making a difference to our customers, our farmers, employees, etc. But just that building an institution itself is a great joy.
So this is external part, right? What is that internally you feel that is
And then personally, in his personal life?
So I think beyond a point, I think in the whole the money part and all of this, you cross that stage, right? I think now it's about making that impact on creating the difference. You know that, you could, I think for me personally, I think the great inspiration is Nandan Elikani, right? I mean, what is done for the country in terms of UPI, Aadhaar. So ideas sort of, can I create a similar impact in a long-term standpoint? So that's the most exciting part from a personal.
So until the next person is getting ready for the question, so let me ask, because we are coming to the fun part of before we end this session. So now that you are reached to this stage, on your phone, right? Whose number you always want to first call when you, apart from the people at the company, right? Who do you feel like first calling, or if anything comes up, any problem or any brainstorming?
I think my wife, right? I think I'm sure everyone is like that, but I think I generally end up calling her. I mean, outside of office, I think the person I talk the most is the wife.
Right.
That too very less, but I think out of that, I think I talk to her the most.
Right. And any other entrepreneurs that you network? Do you do a lot of networking, Vasu?
Not much.
During COVID, I think literally not.
Not much actually. I think we've generally not been a very high on networking and going out. Right. I think generally as a founders, we are very all. I mean, me, KK, through Sharad, all of us are very most inward and then like all that, right? So not much.
I heard once Thiru saying, and I think you also mentioned that once, that you don't like to stuff yourself with too many materialistic things. Everybody has their way of looking at life, right? So how is it? It's like it might be an expensive car, or it might be materials that you want to acquire. So what's about this part? How are you as a person?
So I would sort of say, look, it is very functional, right? Functionally, if something is giving you more comfort or a more safety or a more utility, doesn't matter whether it's expensive or not expensive. My philosophy is that, right?
Right.
Get something that's more durable,
Right.
of high quality, right?
Right.
You could buy a normal glass or you could buy a Ray-Ban. But I know if you buy a Ray-Ban, it could sort of last for longer. Then you as well buy that. Even it's going to cost you a couple of more thousand extra.
Right.
So it's more of reliability and then just fit it, forget it sort of approach, right? But nothing on the luxury side. I mean, you don't have to go buy a Louis Vuitton bag because for the brand's sake or for virtue signaling, etc.
Right.
I think that's something that none of us are like that. And then we have a middle class background. So nothing for the society or for the side, more a very utility driven, functionality driven.
Right. So these don't tempt you, right? Is it?
I think so far no, but like.
But see,
I think it's more of our upbringing, right? I mean.
Okay.
And yeah, we're not really.
But sometimes I might be wrong. Sometimes I feel your personal life and professional life, that at some point they somewhere coincide in the way you think. Like for example, if you dream about building a very big company, you want it to be big, you want it to be massive in terms all parameters, right? But on the personal life, you don't probably. I mean, you can, but you want a different life altogether. Is that so? That can coexist.
No, I don't think so. That's anything to do with how you live at a personal level, right? Because your company is bigger doesn't mean that your life has to be materialistically bigger.
Right.
It has to be bigger from a great family, happiness, health, etc. I would say a healthy, happy family is not more important than having all the materialistic, great house, great car, and etc. Right?
Right.
And that's just a tools to have a little better quality of life. I would sort of draw the line there, not beyond that.
Right.
And I know a lot of great founders, etc., who built unicorn companies, but live a very, very moderate, middle class life, right?
Okay.
So I think, as much as we have examples of people living a lavish life, and I think we have equal amount of examples of people living a very, normal life. When I say normal, this is like from materialist standpoint. I think what's more important is having a great family from a both health and happiness standpoint, not really from a wealth standpoint.
Right. Great. Anybody with questions?
Hello, sir. My name is Mamta. I'm working in PWIP as a demo manager. So my question is to you that if you have advice for those who are in 20s, what could be it, sir?
Okay, so So I think before I answer it, why I'll tell you why I'm gonna answer what I'm gonna answer, right? I think next 20 years, I think India is the place to be, right? I think out of all the countries in the globe, I think India is where the party is gonna be, and our I think in about 10 years, I think our GDP would sort of double, right? From where we are at about 3.5 trillion, I think we'd easily get about 7 trillion. And the reason why it's happening is I think a lot of things are structurally changing for India. India is getting networked like nothing before in terms of your highways, GST, mobile, etc. We are getting networked like nothing before. Our technology is on the greater side. We have the UPI layer, we have Aadhaar layer, which is nowhere in the globe, right? I think we are much advanced in that space. If you look at the entire credit consumption is going up. If you look at the credit growth in India is growing crazy. I mean, overall our credit to GDP ratio is about 50%. In China, it's about 200%, right? So all of this is gonna go crazy. Our domestic consumption economy is gonna go crazy, right? Which means someone who can put their mind, in 20 years, they can easily build 100 crore wealth if you do the right things, right? Either you can build that by being an entrepreneur, or you can build that by being an employee in a great startup, right? So I would say join a startup, take advantage of this growth that's going to come in, right? So join a startup, learn faster, be someone who really creates a bigger impact, right? Where you really become indispensable, where you really move the startup, right? Again, when I say work in startup, not just join a startup and be there and do a very small thing which anyone can do, right? Really do things which is significant, which really moves the needle for a startup. And to become an entrepreneur on your own. But again, it's not mandatory to become an entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur is not for everyone. But doesn't matter, right? You can be a great employee at a startup, but still create a huge value. And while this is about what to do, but how to do is something that the important thing is, grow your skills. I think a lot of us don't take that very seriously. I think we come out of college, I think we stop. I don't think so. In college also we really grow our skills, right? We just get certificate and come out. But really take ownership over your skills, upskill them, and really make yourself ahead of the curve, right? So there are a couple of books you should read. There's a book called Catalyst. You should read. It's a great book from a professional standpoint. There's a book called Professional. I think these are which I would recommend for someone at the early stage. Right. But yeah. Right.
I have one more small question for you. So, as you are a Ninjacart team member, what's your fun part and what's your challenging in your Ninjacart, sir?
So fun is, I think we have a great team in place who does the most of the work, right?
I've seen you guys playing Holi and all. So do you normally have fun, apart from festivals, you have specifically take out time to lighten the mood?
Yeah, we do. I think we keep doing occasional parties at work, etc. I mean, at least we're now trying to do. I mean, we did sports day. Our sports day is coming up in November.
Okay.
Right. I mean, we do team outs, etc. That we do. And anyway, weekends are there. That's for the family and all that stuff. So we do that. That's what we are fairly relaxed and chill company, right? In that sense. Challenging part, of course, is to solve for the agri space, right? Agri itself is a very, very early stage from a disruption standpoint. Now, how do you really pioneer this space? How do you innovate? How do you solve for it? And execute on top of it. Those are the challenging part.
Thank you, sir.
So, by the time the mic reaches the next person, in between I'll ask you another question. So, like you said, the party is happening now in India, right? I truly agree with you. But sometimes I ask myself this question, okay? Assume that I am in a presentation presenting my business to a global investor from some other country, right? And I'm pitching about Bharat, India is going to be the next big thing and things like that, right? Suddenly it starts raining and power goes off, roads are filled with water, potholes. So sometimes I feel we are solving as startups a lot of problems, right? But somewhere, do you feel that basic things like, say, be it roads or be it waterlogging on the roads, we saw it how it was this time.
Yeah.
So, do you think there cannot be any private intervention there? Does these kind of problems bother you personally?
So, I think two things, right? If you look at, if at all, any of you, I'm sure a lot of you guys here, everyone here are paying taxes, right? Income tax.
Yes.
If you are paying a tax, you are 1% of the India, right?
Yes.
Which means when you pay a tax, you're paying for the 99% of the Indian population.
Yes.
So for every 100 rupees that you pay, 19 rupees is spent in the villages.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of your vote bank and all of this, right? Which means only 1% gets spent for your infrastructure, your roads and your public, right? So that's good or bad about India. That's a reality that we live in.
Right.
So that's why, how much ever growth the country GDP is growing at 7%, 8%, etc. Our social infrastructure will always grow at a little lag space. Our digital infrastructure has grown very faster because that's not very growing, right? But our physical infrastructure will always grow slower.
Right.
But that's the reality of India, right? But in spite of that, our economy will grow much at the crazy levels, right?
Right.
Though as much as we'll complain about traffic, we will still stay in banking. We will still come to work.
Yes.
So that's part of the cribbing part, but that's okay.
Yes.
But don't get too disturbed by those things, right? Irrespective of all the problems,
Right.
I think even during the flooding times, people will walk to the office.
Right.
All right.
Right.
That's two India for us. There's a complaining India, but at the same time they'll complain, keep hustling. Part of it, yeah.
Right. We have anybody else who's
Yeah, hi, sir. So my name is Ben, and I'm working as a sales manager in PWIP. So I have a question for you. So what could you choose in a candidate? So if he's planning to join or if he wants to join Ninjacart, so is it a degree or a skill set?
might be at both levels. At the top level.
Yeah. So, I think irrespective of the levels, I think one, of course, high energy, high enthusiasm. This is super important for us because you're trying to solve problems. You want people who could really come with a growth mindset, etc. Two, with the folks with a lot of ownership, who could really do it well, take it up and own up and do it right. That's very, very important for us at a larger level. For leadership, we look for folks who can, take decisions, run strategy, build great teams, etc. Someone who could, take bets, right? Take bold bets. And fourth, someone who can deliver outcomes. These are four things we look at leadership level. At the entry level, of course, energy, enthusiasm, it's a skill we think we know we can really always, they can always learn at work.
Right. So, thank you, Abin. So, again, as the mic reaches to the next person, so, on the fun part, right, what else do you do, Vasu? Meaning, do you do trekking or have you tried bungee jumping or skydiving? Any of these?
So I'm not a very, though I want to adventure a lot of adventure, but I've not done much in the last 5 years. I think weekends I mostly spend time with my family.
Okay.
I have 2 kids, so
Right.
I have a younger one with about 6-month-old.
Oh,
So I spend more time with my family now.
okay.
Other time I like now movies. I sort of do the movies or do more of reading now. One of my reading is digital now, but yeah, these are 3 things I do.
Okay. If there was any other business that you want to do apart from what you're doing right now, which is like very close to your heart, what would it be?
So I wouldn't say close to my heart, but I know where you can make money.
Okay.
So I think religion is one big area, right?
Religion, okay.
I think religion, tech, I think it's a great potential in India.
Okay.
Not much. So you'll be surprised, right? The top astrology app in India makes 70 lakhs every day.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Which roughly they make about 20 crores every month. Okay. Top astrology app in India.
Okay.
So religion is one area, I think. I mean, just from a curiosity standpoint, right?
Right.
I'm not a very religious person, but
Right.
we can make money, why not?
Right.
So that's one. Construction is another area, right? Bringing new tech to really solve for construction in a very different way. I think for Thiru's also it's a great, Thiru's ambitious idea is also this.
Well,
Construction is another passionate about. Where do you think?
construction as in real estate or construction itself?
Construction as a
Construction. Okay. Okay.
one of construction tech, not really
okay,
real
okay.
construction. Right? So I think these are the 2 areas I would sort of say
Okay.
it was some interesting there.
Okay. And in the religion, it's more of content along with the.
I've not thought about it, but yeah,
Okay. Okay.
anything that could sort of serve the
Right.
faith.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi Vasu, hi Vanraj. I am Nandini and my question is to you Vasu. As you told, it is very important to pivot and as you go, you get better clarity. So knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently when you first started out?
From a business model standpoint, or from
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing what you know now, I think that's a very strong statement. So I think you know a lot now.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, for sure, actually, because we have not done a lot of mistakes that we have done already. I think if you ask me, one of the biggest loss in the last 7 years is the time, right? Because you spend the 7 years to learn what you learned today. We would not. We would have maybe done the right things first, actually, instead of iterating, and then you're learning, right? I mean, that's the case with any startup. I mean, if you ask me again after 7 years in 2030, if you ask me what I would do differently, I would be very different from what I would do today, right? But whatever knowledge we have today, we're choosing our strategies around our learning today. But I'm sure it's an evolving process. I don't think anyone can short circuit that and do differently.
Yeah. We come to the end of this session, Vasu. Before we let you go, we would want to present a small token to you, and as well as we want to click a few pictures with you. So as an ending note, thank you so much, and we are planning to put this on our this content on our page as well. So I hope it will reach a lot of people, and it's very inspiring. So because we get to see you very closely and the team, the energy and what you do, right? So it's very inspiring for us, for sure. And for all the team members who are there and who want to, I have seen in the startup space, and for the young, like how Mamta asked, what is your advice for people who are in their 20s? I think a lot of people, it's not about that they're figuring out job. I think they're figuring out their life. How our 20s were and what we were thinking, and that they have, everything, technology is there. I think it's the same with these farmers and these millers, processors, I think. Do you think the farmers have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and all on their phone?
Yeah.
So it's a different life altogether, right? So thank you so much for joining, Vasu.